Hello and welcome. Happy Republic Day week. In this historic week, we are here with a poll that is the country's most credible and long-running mood of the nation. That's right, it's that time of the year. India Today's Mood of the Nation poll done by C Voter, which gives you always the big picture on all the big pressing hot button issues in the country, including who would win if a Lok Sabha election is held today. Rahul.
This is the 23rd year of the Mood of the Nation poll, the most definitive sense of which way the political winds are blowing in the country. What we want to do right at the top is give you a sense of the methodology that's been adopted by C Voter to bring this poll together for the India Today group. Remember, this poll was conducted between the 15th of December and the 15th of January 2023. There were 35,909 respondents covering all Lok Sabha segments who were polled. An additional 105,008 interviews were drawn from C Voter's regular tracker data, which are also a part of the study. So a total of 140,917 respondents were considered for this report. So that's a fairly large national sample size.
That's huge, and it stretches right across the country, across caste and gender groups, which is why the data is a veritable golden minefield for anyone interested in knowing what is happening in the country. What's the mood of the nation? Rahul's going to go and give us the big numbers in a moment. Just about enough time, though, for me to also introduce our guest. Raj Chengappa, editorial director of India Today, joins me. It's his magazine, and that's the cover story, the Mood of the Nation poll that will be out this week. Rahul Verma, senior political analyst with the Center for Policy Research, one of the country's leading political scientists. Also joining us is Yashwant Deshmukh of C Voter. Remember, it's his agency that does the Mood of the Nation poll for India Today. Also joining us are Nasir Hussain of the Congress, Rajya Sabha MP, and Sanju Verma, BJP spokesperson. Appreciate all of you joining us. Raj Chengappa, are you going to give us a teaser right at the very start? What's the headline going to look like?
Well, wait for the actual...
Is it Mood of the Nation or Modi of the Nation?
Well, wait for the actual thing to come. Yes, but it is certainly going to be Modi all the way, as it's shown. But I think the most important thing is that this Mood of the Nation poll comes at a time that the general election is just 1.5 years away. In many senses, this reads the mood as it would be. This is also a critical year for the Modi government, that in 2023, what he does or doesn't do will in some ways determine the outcome of the general election. So the perceptions that you're getting, the findings that you're getting have a huge bearing.
That's right.
This is one election, if you recall, Rajdeep, that when we did it in January 2013, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, UPA 2, there were disastrous results for them. It was a portent for the things to come.
Okay, and remember, this is also a big election year, 9 state elections this year. Rahul Gandhi has been on a Bharat Jodo Yatra. Prime Minister Modi is hoping to project himself as a Vishwa Guru, with India taking over presidency of G20. How is all this going to play out? What are the readings as of now? Rahul, how does it look, particularly the performance of the NDA, the ruling government alliance?
The first thing we did in the Mood of the Nation opinion poll is ask respondents to tell us what they thought of the performance of the NDA government. And what is quite remarkable here is that despite being in the 9th year of office, heading into the 10th year, the Modi government's performance approval ratings have actually gone up from 56 to 67. 56% thought the performance was satisfactory when we last did the poll in August 22. Now that's gone up 11% to 67. Those who were unsatisfied with the performance of the Modi Sarkar, that number coming down from 32 to 18%, a 14% decline in the number of those who are unhappy with what the government is doing. But remember, this is quite phenomenal. 9th year of power, no visible signs of anti-incumbency. In fact, there is a very clear, apparent pro-incumbency which is at play, which seems to lead 67% of the respondents suggest they like what the NDA government is doing.
That's actually remarkable, because when you look at it, 56% August 2022 satisfied. Now it's up to 67%, actually 11%. And unsatisfied is down by 14% from 32 to 18%. So you've got actually the Modi government in January 2023 getting higher ratings than it got even in January 2020, which was, of course, one would have thought a poll right at the start of having won an election where usually governments have a bounce effect. But Yashwant Deshmukh, it appears clearly from these numbers right at the very outset, no anti-incumbency even after almost 9 years in power.
Well, Radip, not only that there is no anti-incumbency, it seems that the last 10 years we are now observing a very clear trend of pro-incumbency factors, not just at the national level, but as you will analyze the states and the chief minister's performance, there is a very clear pro-incumbency sentiment is also setting in. And that's a very unique phenomena to observe, because we have in media and in the research sector, we have been programmed to analyze elections and public perception mapping in terms of anti-incumbency all the way, Radip. And this is a big change, I would say, that we are witnessing.
Raj, you've been studying these numbers carefully. Between August, when you last did the poll, and now, what all do you think has changed to actually see an 11% increase in people's satisfaction with the NDA government?
You know, I'd like to answer in two parts. One, what Yashwant just mentioned, which I think we must understand that in the past, there was a dichotomy between Mr. Modi's popularity and the NDA government's popularity. There was always a huge gap. That gap has considerably lessened. And that is good news for both BJP, Mr. Modi and his government. Because I think what has happened is that the worst in many senses in terms of the economic crisis that they suffered during COVID, the kind of problems that were there, both in terms of health, in terms of the economy, as well as the threats that came from external threats in China, they seem to have weathered that storm well, in the sense that the people's perception overall is that Mr. Modi and his government is still the best bet to run this country.
August 2021, in the aftermath of the second COVID wave, was the real dip that took place in the NDA. They went down to 53%. Now, of course, they are back, as I said, to January 2020 levels, August 2020 levels at 67%. But if you look at the biggest achievements and biggest failures, Rahul Verma, that might give us a sense of where these numbers are coming from. We asked the NDA government's biggest achievement. Handling of COVID-19, what was perceived as a weakness in 2021, in 2023 is seen as a strength. 20% said biggest achievement. Article 370 revocation has steadily been seen as an achievement over the last 5 years. 14% supported that. And building a Ram Mandir. The government has said a Ram Mandir will actually be constructed by the 1st of January, or at least you'll have an inauguration 1st of January 2024, just in time for the elections. Biggest failures: price rise 25%. Normally, that is an issue that dominates. Unemployment 17%, but handling of COVID-19 is down just to 8%, seeing it as the biggest failure. Notebandi seems to now be in the distant past at 6%. So it seems, Rahul Verma, that in 2 years from the worst of the COVID crisis to where we are today, there's been a dramatic shift in perception.
That's true. That's what this number is. These numbers are actually suggesting that now BJP or NDA government satisfaction rating is around the 2020 and 2021 mark. And in some ways, basically, I'll add to what Yashwant and Raj Chengappa said, that it seems that BJP, Prime Minister Modi and NDA government seem to be politically more competent than others.
Do any of our pundits here know of any leader who's in his 10th year, approaching his 10th year in power, and has 67% of the people being sampled saying that they think he's doing a good job? Rahul Verma, is there anyone who comes at this time, any other country to your mind?
Whatever global ratings that are available, Modi leads those charts. So Morning Consult is one of the organizations which does these global ratings largely online. Modi is far ahead. So in that sense, Prime Minister Modi represents a very different kind of phenomena, which for us academics is hard to break
Rajdeep?
down.
No,
Let's go back in history. If there's no one at the moment, Rajdeep, anybody going back in history?
Jawaharlal Nehru was India's Prime Minister for 17 years. Indira Gandhi experienced a bump, experienced setbacks after about 5 or 6 years. 66, 67 comes to power by 73, 74, oil shock, then the emergency. Her popularity eventually, nosedives. So it's not happened even in the Indian context, barring Jawaharlal Nehru possibly. And globally, in an electoral democracy, very difficult to see a comparison. Authoritarian societies, possibly, Vladimir Putin will probably say, I get 90% support, but who's going to trust the numbers that he throws up? So,
and where will the other 10% end up if they say they don't like Putin?
That's right. So,
Raj, who comes to your mind globally?
Whatever the facts that Rajdeep and Rahul have said, yes, including the association that does this, and I mentioned it last year, that there is, he tops the ratings across. I just want to make a quick point. When you look in contrast, January 2013, when we ask, when the MOTN is done, and it's the same period, right? Manmohan Singh has completed 9 years, he's hitting 10. His rating drops to as low as something like 29%, compared to Mr. Modi at 67%, Dr. Manmohan Singh.
That was, of course, in the backdrop of India against corruption.
Yes. So if you look at it, there also you see that the facts in terms of his government's performance is also drastically low. So when you look at the fact in the 9th year of any government, if anti-incumbency isn't showing, this is a phenomenon. There's no doubt about it.
Before the show, Rahul, I said almost that these numbers almost suggest Mr. Modi has become a cult figure, which is not just a normal politician. Normal politicians, we would have normal analysis and look at anti-incumbency, look at the where the government has faltered, and why, therefore, is there a reaction against it. We are not seeing that, and I think that's why the opposition should worry, and that's why the ruling party will almost believe that 2024 is a done deal. Nasir Hussain, from the Congress, the first numbers that are coming out seem to suggest that there is Modi only, the Timo factor, as some would call it. Looking at these numbers at the moment, we don't know the final big picture, but the initial numbers show the levels of satisfaction have actually risen between August and January.
If you look at the states, BJP has won some states but has lost lots of the states. And how BJP has managed to keep the states together is something which I know, every one of us know. What happened in Maharashtra, what happened in Karnataka, what happened in number of states where they didn't get the mandate. So let us not get into that. It is more of an manufacturing a mandate than actually getting a mandate, or it is more of an stealing a mandate than actually getting a mandate in the states. So one. Two, I would also like to mention that though comparisons has been done with the past prime ministers, I would also say every time you do a survey, every time you do you do some sort of a poll before the elections in any state or at the center, it is generally the trend that the incumbent government, incumbent prime minister, incumbent chief minister, generally I'm saying not, there could be exceptions, but but I'm saying that generally the trend would be that the incumbent government gets a fairly large amount of
Mr. Hussain,
poll
Mr. Hussain, I'm sorry. Mr. Hussain, Manmohan Singh in 2013 January, his numbers had fallen.
Rajdeep, let me finish. Rajdeep, let me finish. Let me come to. See, during the end of, I'm saying there could be exception 1 or 2, but most of the chief minister state elections, most of the central election 1 year, 2 years before the election, the general trend is that the prime minister who is generally visible everywhere, or the chief ministers who are generally visible everywhere, would definitely have some sort of favoring during the opinion polls. 1, 2. I would also say that if somebody can get us some data or the details of some sort of a similar poll done before 2004 when Mr. Vajpayee was at the peak of his popularity, then you would definitely get to know that Vajpayee was riding the tide and Vajpayee was at the helm of the affairs and he was at the peak of his popularity. But
Sanju Verma, does this poll suggest to the BJP that 2024 could potentially be in the bag?
Rahul, let me finish. Rahul, let me finish.
I did not heckle anybody.
You can't take so long. Nasir Hussain, keep it short and crisp. You've spoken for 3 minutes. We've given you a full run to make your point.
Yeah,
let Sanju come in on these numbers and whether they suggest that 2024 could potentially be a done deal.
Let's be very clear. I will talk about numbers. And I think you two being seasoned journalists, you'll agree that West Bengal, Maharashtra, Bihar, and Uttar Pradesh. These 4 states account for 210 seats in the Lok Sabha, out of 543. 39% of the total Lok Sabha seats come from these 4 states. And if you have got your game and the numbers right in these 4 states, you're romping home to victory. Now let us just look at the numbers. Very quickly, I'll take 10 seconds. BJP in 2019 got 18 seats in Bengal, We got 23 seats in Maharashtra, we got 63 in Uttar Pradesh, and we got 1717 seats in Bihar, taking a tally from 210, which is the overall number, we secured 121 seats. So we basically, in these 4 large states, we got 57% of the total seats that were up for, contest. Now, I have an interesting take. The Shiv Sena last time got 18 seats in the Lok Sabha. To our tally of 121, you add these 18 seats also, because Shiv Sena, the Uddhav Thackeray faction, is decimated, done and dusted. So 121 plus 18 becomes 139, which means out of these total 210 seats, if in 2019 we got 121, in 2024, bina kuch kiye, we will get 139 seats.
Okay, so we are coming to the state by state and seat by seat breakup in just a while.
Coming later.
From now,
We are coming later to the state by state breakup. I am giving you a quick 30 seconds. Give us your preliminary remarks. Give us your preliminary remarks to these numbers. Don't worry about the states. We'll come later to the states.
My preliminary, Rajveer, please. You are the anchor. Why are you heckling me? Okay. My preliminary analysis is this. Our tally of 121 rises to 139 in the 4 states of Maharashtra, Bengal, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. We are romping home. Last time BJP standalone got 303. NDA got 353. This time standalone we will get 353. I have given you a small sample of the math.
Okay, we'll come to that.
Actually, the numbers are quite different for Maharashtra and Bihar, but we'll come to that
numbers. You haven't actually, the story picture abhi baki hai, Sanju Verma. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, because the fact is, let's try and break this down, Rahul, because there are interesting numbers. What is the most important issue which we had said? Unemployment 25%, price rise 22%, family income 6%. When the question was asked, should India go for a uniform civil code? Yes was 69%, no was 19%. Should India appoint judges? Should judges appoint judges? The whole collegium debate. Yes said 38%. Executive should appoint 19%. Both executives and judges should appoint 31%. So opinion divided on that. Should hijab be banned in educational institutions? Yes, 57%. No, 26%. Muslim men indulging in love jihad, yes 53%, no 33%. When you taken together, particularly these large numbers for should India go for a uniform civil code, how love jihad is perceived, you get a sense that the BJP is some of the issues, seemingly polarizing issues, Rahul, that they are raising, are getting a lot of traction out there. So it's not just Mr. Modi's popularity or the governance issues on COVID, but it's also those emotive issues that seem to be rousing up the base of the party. So it's the BJP at the moment is like, is playing politics 360.
No, but they're leaving no space for the opposition. Yashwant Deshmukh, that the BJP's narrative on issues like love jihad, on issues like uniform civil code has now seeped deep into Indian society, where 69% want the uniform civil code, 53% say they are convinced that Muslim men are indeed indulging in love jihad.
There is a deeper sense of polarization among the electorate and the demographics of this country. And if you look into the demographic details of all these questions, you will see very clear-cut deviation among the minorities and the majorities on these issues. There are contrasting opinion on that. However, having said that, Rahul, there is also a sense, which I must point out, that, 26 January 2002 was the first time I carried the MOTN for India Today. So for me also, it's been 20 years. This is marking 20 years. And one big change, which I have been watching in my trend line doing MOTN over these years with India Today, is that definitely in the last 5 years, there seems to be a sort of disconnect between the issues and the anger that those issues generate and aim towards the people in power. So, Radip, you might have a much more historical backdrop on this analysis. Earlier, we used to see that when economic crisis come up, unemployment or the inflation went up, those kind of issues automatically got converted into anger against those in power. Somehow, that has got disconnected. And this is a very amazing insight to see that it is not only at the national level. The Congress spokesperson was correct, because I made that point that the idea of pro-incumbency is gaining also at the state level. When you look into the list of the top chief ministers that MOTN produces, number of people who are satisfied with their chief ministers. Even that list gives the similar kind of emotion and sentiment what we are watching at the national level. People are disconnecting their anger with the issues. Somehow now the ratings are more produced, or ratings are more giving an idea of how people perceive the trustworthiness of a leadership. How people see that, okay, I have got this issue, but I see this particular gentleman or that particular party as more capable of finding a solution to that issue.
How do you explain this, Rahul Verma? The fact that unemployment, price rise are such big issues, but politically they don't seem to damage the government.
No, Yashwant is absolutely right. And something which Rajdeep said in his intro, which is, these numbers don't make sense to people who have been looking ordinary politics. Actually, we all have, and perhaps you all have, we have learned or to analyze politics from the 1990s to 2013 period, which was a politics of fragmentation, right? There were lots of parties were ahead with just 1 or 2% votes. Post 2014, we are in a very different world of politics, which is a dominant party system. Ideological median, Rahul, as you pointed out, has moved towards the right. And so now issues are basically becoming disconnected to voting choices and popularity rating choices. So as a voter, I do understand economic concerns and I am going to rate them high, but those are not the primary moving choices which will move my vote. My vote is dependent on something else, perhaps as Yashwant pointed out. This is why we are basically in an era of pro-incumbency. Again, much like
then what could potentially hurt the Modi government? Like if, for example, there is to be an Achilles heel, which creates dissatisfaction and translates that into negative voting behavior from the BJP's perspective, do you see any weakness at all?
Not one single thing, at least in the short run. And if any such Achilles heel has to develop, it will be internal contradictions within the BJP, much like the Congress demise began because of the internal contradictions within the BJP.
That's an interesting way to put it. The politics of fragmentation between 84 and 2014 over 30 years is now transforming itself into a much more stable political system, into a dominant political system, because Raj Chengappa, the economy in the last 2 years was seen as a concern. It still is. When you look at numbers, 25% still say unemployment number one, 22% say price rise. Inflation for the last 2 quarters, except for the last couple of months, has been well above what the RBI would have ideally liked. We know people are losing jobs. The numbers do suggest that. But none of that seems to be translating into unpopularity of the government. At the same time, on some of the more polarizing issues like the hijab controversy, like love jihad, it almost seems that the government or the BJP's narrative is getting more and more acceptance. Make sense of that. It seems almost that I may have lost my job. I may be worried about prices. But, I don't think that Mr. Modi is doing such a bad job. And I actually appreciate the BJP's ideological agenda almost.
No, but Rajdeep, that's not what the data says. Not bad job. They actually think he's doing a very good job.
That's right.
67%.
So, you see, voting preferences are being disconnected from my state, possibly of economic health. And that shows that maybe I have trust in the leader, that at the end of the day, that things will get better at some stage. So it seems a lot about leadership and creditworthiness of the leadership.
No, there's a lot of right what you said, but I would just be a little cautious. One, do these numbers, which we can discuss later, really reflect the kind of popularity jump that they've gone? Do the numbers proportionately jump in that? That's the first point to prove this thing that there is a disconnect between the two. I don't think so. I think there is an issue, if you take a look at the successes which we listed, okay? We talked of COVID as being one of his best successes. There's also in that same thing, COVID is one of his failures as well. The government, the Modi government. Now, this was ephemeral. It will disappear by next year if COVID does not trouble the country, right? People will say, okay, that's an issue that's done and dusted and over with. Then you take a look at the other issues. Article 370, diminishing interest. If you see what we tracked in the beginning, it was 25% saying it was a success. Now it's down to about 14, 15%. So also if you take a look at the building of the Ram Temple. In the Ram Temple's case, you might see a bump because 2024, if the construction is ready, that's going to have an impact on, say, an emotional connect. Mm-hmm. And the core voter of the BJP, the Hindutva voter, 20 to 25%, whatever it is, will back the party fully because it feels its agenda has been taken care of. Article 370, building of the Ram Temple. But Even in Jammu and Kashmir, unless they hold the elections this year, that is receding from center stage. Now you take a look at the failures that have been pointed out. 54%, apart from prices and inflation, if you take a look at economic growth and you take a look at demonetization, close to 54% of the people polled said that economy was the biggest failure of the government. You cannot argue with this. What you are seeing right now, I believe, and I might be wrong, is that because the last 2 years have been so terrible and the bounce back has been good, you are seeing a kind of a feel-good thing coming back into the economy. But when you ask them questions about later, about, you pointed out on the polarization issue, I think there's a limit to that.
Okay, there is a limit to polarization, but where I was coming from, Rahul, and I think Rahul Verma made the point, satisfaction level is 67%. Even though 54% are worried about issues like unemployment and prices. So I may be worried about unemployment, I may be worried about prices, but I'm still satisfied with the government. It almost seems as if I'm separating my personal sense of dissatisfaction with my life with my satisfaction levels with the government.
No, so it's Modi hai to mumkin hai. The fact that they believe that he is the man who can get the job done. Yes, there are problems, but he's the best man to sort them out.
And not just in the center, but in the states. Manisha Priyam, you want to make sense of these numbers for us at the very outset, because it seems that despite the real concerns that exist on the ground, and they're real, unemployment is a real problem. The fact is that people still seem more satisfied today with the Modi government than they were even 4 or 5 months ago.
So that's the real success of Mr. Narendra Modi. He is seen by even those who do not vote for him as an effective leader who's running India very well and is steering India onto a global stage. Now, Mr. Modi has been able to build that persona of himself where people don't believe that he is the cause of unemployment or he is the cause of price rise. And I think Mr. Modi, rather than this one-party dominant system, what is the real explanation is that he's turned himself into what is called the Vikas Purush. And Mumbai a couple of days ago when he visited for an inaugural, a big inaugural, had huge hoardings which called him the Vikas Purush. Now, no regional party or no regional sentiments would actually contest that image of his. And the point really is that that portrayal of regional leaders that started in the early 1990s after liberalization, privatization, globalization, when Chandrababu Naidu was the CEO in the arena of democracy, Mr. Modi has been able to build it on a pan-India scale. Remember, things like Tamil Samagam, bringing train loads or airplane loads of Tamil devotees to Kashi, may not give him the electoral dividends in Tamil Nadu, but it's exposed a large section of the Tamil population to stories about how he's rebuilt the Kashi Vishwanath. So even where he does not have the voter base, even when there is a strong regional identity and social justice politics that's being played out in Tamil Nadu, you can see the governor is at a row with the chief minister. But if you go and ask people nationally who's the person running the country well, the answer will be Narendra Modi.
We're presidential. We're presidential at the end of the day.
But remember one thing.
Distancing the problems as not his own.
These numbers about the performance of the NDA government are coming at a time when the world is gripped by massive economic problems. Inflation rates, interest rates, the Russia-Ukraine war, trade tensions between the United States and China. And as there is growing global consensus that there may not be a deep recession and that there may be a soft landing instead, and the India story starts to actually boom and gather some steam, things could change potentially even more, because this is 67% being satisfied when there's a very hostile pitch that you're batting on. When the pitch is more docile and more flat, the batsman could start scoring more runs, Rajdeep.
We'll wait and see how that plays out.
No, sure, but I'm saying you're right now batting on a very hostile pitch.
Absolutely. At the moment, it almost seems that the opposition, as I said, whatever they do, they seem squeezed, at least nationally. And I think we need to make that distinction between national politics and state politics. There are state politics where areas are opening up for the opposition. But nationally, it appears at the moment there is Modi only, the Timo factor. But what should the opposition do? That's what we are going to turn to in a moment.
I was very keen on seeing how the Bharat Jodo Yatra is being perceived. There's been so much commentary around Rahul Gandhi's magnum opus, the effort that he's making. How do people perceive the political efficacy of the Yatra? We'll talk about that when we come back on the other side of a quick break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You are with India Today's Mood of the Nation poll in this Republic Day week, brought to you in association with C Voter, that's done the survey. All the details in the India Today magazine. Rahul, the other big question which we raised before the break, the Bharat Jodo Yatra. That's been the other big change between the previous MOTN in August and now. How are people perceiving Rahul Gandhi's journey from Kanyakumari to Kashmir? What does the Mood of the Nation say?
There's been so much focus within opposition circles on Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra, but so far there has been no empirical evidence to demonstrate what the voters of this country think of the Bharat Jodo Yatra. So here are, for the first time, numbers from the India Today C Voter Mood of the Nation opinion poll on how Indian citizens perceive Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra. 37% of the respondents say it's created a buzz, but it won't help the Congress win elections, which is the ultimate political litmus test. 29% of those who were sampled say it's a good exercise for mass connect. So 3 in 10 seem to think that this is actually helping Rahul Gandhi and the Congress achieve a mass connect. 13% think of this as yet another rebranding exercise for Rahul Gandhi. You could add those two, 29 plus 13, giving a relatively favorable verdict towards the Yatra. That's about 42% of the respondents. 9% seem to say it'll make no difference. So net-net, the biggest number over there is the 37%. 1 out of 3 respondents were essentially saying that this is creating a buzz but won't help the Congress win elections. But you've got 42% who seem to think it is serving some utility. Let's now come to the next question about who is best suited to revive the Congress. And on this question, there are two key markers that we are going to look at. One is Rahul Gandhi and the other is Sachin Pilot. Rahul Gandhi's numbers from January 21 have actually increased 15, 17, 18, 23 and then 26. Sachin Pilot, on the other hand, has increased as well from 12 to 17, but a much lesser quantum of increase. But Rahul Gandhi now at 26%, much more than the 18, 15, 17, Rajdeep, that he's been on over the previous MOTNs.
Because let's get in his namesake Rahul Verma with us. When I look at these numbers, it suggests, yes, there has been a buzz that the Bharat Jodo Yatra has undoubtedly created, especially in the media, but it's not all necessarily translating it into Rahul Gandhi suddenly emerging as the main contender to Mr. Modi. The gap still seems fairly wide. How do you explain this? Create a buzz but can't win polls is 37%, more than 1 in every 3. Around 1/3 call it a great exercise for mass connect. Add rebranding exercise for Rahul, that's about 42%. So the Yatra seems to have served a particular purpose for the Congress.
Yes.
But has it been able to win over the non-Congress voters is the big question.
That's actually difficult to say at the moment. See, I think this Yatra has done 3 things. First, it has got some positive bump for the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi. But this positive bump has to be understood in the backdrop of declining popularity. So the positive bump is still at the 2019 level or slightly above it. The Congress party and Rahul Gandhi's rating were declining since 2019. That's the first point. Second, I think, at least the leadership question in the Congress party is now settled. They now have a full-time president in form of Mallikarjun Kharge, and Rahul Gandhi is the Congress party's leader. That question is settled. This was also hanging in there for last 2 years. There was no precedent in the party. And third, there is some movement within the party where there was nothing. Think of it was basically lots of crisis within the party. So at least some positive energy, but whether it will revive the Congress party, this is far-fetched Can Congress make big electoral gains? I think that's also far-fetched.
You know, it almost seems, Raj Chengappa, the exact flip side of Mr. Modi. Mr. Modi has some genuine concerns with the economy, but satisfaction levels very high. Mr. Rahul Gandhi has created a buzz with his Bharat Jodo Yatra, but will it translate into votes? Huge question mark. Is this again more about those who are convinced about leadership? Rahul Gandhi still has to convince people that he can lead the country. Yes, he is someone who's now clearly making waves, but can he lead the country? There seems to be a disjunction.
Well, a couple of points I'll add to what Rahul had said. I agree with most of them. Is that one, there's a makeover of Rahul's image. So far as the BJP had always...
a positive makeover.
Positive makeover. He was criticized as Pappu, a Shehzada, and other kind of, what would you say, names that you wouldn't like people to be called at, right? He was really pushed down. That image has changed. Having walked 3,500 kilometers, there's a sense that he's now a serious politician, not a dilettante. The second thing I think that comes through is that because he has walked it, these battles that has happened within the Congress, right? He has a greater moral and in some senses, can be more firm and decisive in dealing with some of these crises. He was always seen as someone who had inherited it. Now I think there is a feeling that he has achieved some of these things, so he has a greater force.
So he's earned the respect of the Congress,
right,
and the Congress party and its voters. Whether that will now go beyond that is the question.
No, I was just adding one little point to this one, is that having done all this, I think the perception ratings that have come here, 66%, if you add the 37 as well, say yes, it has made some impact, it has created a buzz. But I think the most important outcome of this is that they say they don't feel the Congress has the leadership and the organization to do it. If this was the Congress and Rahul Gandhi, the big message that is coming for them is that you need to focus on organizational revamp. You cannot do business as usual. You have to cash in on the momentum that is there. The next 3 months will be critical in terms of turning the numbers for the Congress
but whether
positively.
It is politics, the financial markets, or cricket, performance is relative to peers. If Rahul Gandhi were a stock, his stock was beaten down very badly. All that we've seen, Rohan Gupta, is from very negative red territory, the stock coming up towards neutral. It is still not on the buy side. It's not as if voters are saying that they are latching on to Rahul Gandhi and that this will lead to the Congress winning elections. You had a very battered stock, which is now neutral, but still not very positive.
So Rahul, first of all, if you see the elections, whether it is Himachal or Gujarat, I am sure we were not there in both the states, and at least we have got one state. See, I am not attributing this directly to Bharat Jodo Yatra anywhere, but at least that has given confidence to our cadre. And since Bharat Jodo Yatra was there at that point of time, I feel that some contribution is there. Point number one. Point number two, I think the elections during this year, whether it is Karnataka elections or other elections, will definitely give us a lot of input as far as what people are thinking about Congress and what difference it is going to make on ground. As far as Bharat Jodo Yatra is concerned, Rahul, when it started, it was not getting attention of even media also. So I think now at the end, when we see that Bharat Jodo Yatra is going to end, now we see all the channels, all the media debates happening at least on Bharat
Now,
Jodo
Sudhanshu
Yatra.
Trivedi, you study Indian political history. Would you accept that in Indian political history, going back many years, very rarely has a yatra gone unrewarded? Whoever has done this tapasya of walking has found some succor at the end of it. And Rahul Gandhi, your ecosystem had built the image of him being a pappu, has at least neutralized that negative image and come towards neutral territory. What happens from here depends on what he does next.
Actually, if you look at what was the prime objective of this yatra, there was no comparison between BJP and Congress and the tall personality of Modi ji with Rahul Gandhi. It was a very far cry if they are thinking on that line. The fact of the matter that so many leaders in the opposition have built up their ambitions of becoming the leader of the prime leader of the opposition, whether it is Mamta ji, Nitish Kumar ji, KCR, Kejriwal or Sharad Pawar ji. So the prime objective was to show the so-called other leaders of the party to their face, that where are you? We are from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. तो उनको विपक्ष के नेताओं को हैसियत दिखाना था.
Has
In
that
that
worked or not
process,
in your
they
view?
succeeded.
No,
They succeeded.
let's look at that in terms of the mood of the nation. Because we asked this question, who is best suited to lead the opposition? In our mood of the nation in January 2022, Arvind Kejriwal was at 16%. He's now up to 24%. Remember, his highest was 27% aftermath of what had happened in Punjab. Mamata Banerjee was at the top in 2021. She's now at about 20%. Rahul Gandhi, is he best suited to lead the opposition? 11% in January of 2022, 13% in August of 2022, now 13%. So actually, when you are asking this direct question, are you the best suited? Arvind Kejriwal and Mamata Banerjee are still higher than a Rahul Gandhi. So while I come back to it, Congress voters seem to be
20%.
seem to be satisfied with Rahul Gandhi, but the non-Congress opposition voters also are looking at options.
But Modi's magic is the fact that he's able to get the non-BJP voter to vote for him.
What I want to say,
Yes.
that Congress was trying to project a case that howsoever popular your leader may be in a one or two respective state, but in the entire country we are there. So they succeeded.
No,
So
but
that's
this poll
why
says
the
even
problem
that is
is-
not
No,
true.
The party
This poll
which
says
is-
that Mamata and Kejriwal are perceived as being better national leaders than Rahul Gandhi. according
That's
to
what
this
I am
poll.
saying. The dichotomy of the opposition emerges out of this survey as the biggest party is Congress, but their leader is not tallest.
You know,
Other leaders are tallest, the parties are small. So small parties having taller leader and the bigger parties having not that much taller leader. So that dichotomy will not be able to overcome by the
You know,
opposition.
because when you ask a direct question again, can the opposition alliance challenge Mr. Modi? In January 2022, it was 49%. Now it's down in a way, yes, say 39%. So 10% down. No 41%. And now it's up to 47%. So the opposition, despite the Bharat Jodo Yatra, has not been able to send out the message that they can challenge Mr. Modi. And B, Rahul Gandhi is not necessarily seen as the only individual who can do that. So I think that should be the big concern in a way, that the Bharat Jodo Yatra has done well for Rahul's image within the Congress, but not outside the Congress. Would I be right, Yashwant Deshmukh, in saying that?
Well, absolutely correct to a large extent, Rajdeep, but just want to add the points which you have made. I think the Bharat Jodo Yatra has served a purpose in mitigating the clear and present danger which was put out by the MOTN survey 6 months back. If you look into the prime ministerial candidate's positioning, Rajdeep, it was for the first time in MOTN that Rahul Gandhi's name came below 10%. He was at 9% and Arvind Kejriwal went up to 7%, just 2 points behind Rahul Gandhi. If that trend would have continued, probably in that question, which is like a verbatim open-ended question asking people, whom do you want to see as the Prime Minister of this country? Arvind Kejriwal was in striking range of overtaking Rahul Gandhi 6 months back. Now look at, that was the clear and present danger. And I think Bharat Jodo Yatra has served the purpose in that way. Look at those numbers now. From 9%, Rahul Gandhi has gone up to 14%, and Arvind Kejriwal's numbers have dropped down on the prime ministerial question. So what I'm trying to say, that the absolute disaster that might have happened in terms of Congress defeat in Gujarat, yes, it happened. But the Bharat Jodo Yatra in the larger frame of context, that it served the point that Congress is the only national party vis-a-vis any other alternative,
Okay.
be it Aam Aadmi
Rohan
Party
Gupta,
or TMC,
Yashwant Deshmukh is
contest
giving
the
you
BJP.
Rohan Gupta, Yashwant Deshmukh is giving you some straws to clutch onto. These are straws. Because when I look at it, it only seems at the moment that while the Yatra has done well for your party and Rahul's own image, he's still not a challenger for Mr. Modi in that sense.
I think that's what I told earlier. You have to see, as you know, there can be one opinion on the Yatra, there can be a different opinion, but the results of the current state elections, and I'm being very frank, there has to be impact there. And if we see that, definitely, I'm 100% sure the way we are getting feedback from Karnataka, I am sure we are going to win Karnataka by.
Okay, that's very interesting.
If I look at Congress's role as the opposition, You know, that we asked that question, how have they performed? Outstanding, 19%. So about 1 in every 5, and presumably many of these are opposition voters, have said outstanding. Good is 15. Add the two, good plus outstanding, 34%. Congress can clutch on to that. Average 19, poor is 25. So a lot of voters also think the performance is still not good enough because very poor is 12. Add that, that is 37%. So a solid 37%.
No, but also in the 19% who are saying the outstanding, how many are BJP voters and how many are Congress?
That's what I'm saying.
BJP voters will say outstanding to the Congress right now.
No. Well, we don't know whether that's the case. All I will say at the moment is that the Congress still needs to do, has bahut lambi...
No, but that's where Sudhanshu ji should come in. No, on the question of Karnataka, you're on everyone in the BJP, whether they accept it on camera or not, off camera will tell you it's a tough election at the highest levels. And you're seeing Rohan Gupta, Karnataka aane do. So they'll make it about Karnataka, putting that much more pressure on your government in Karnataka.
If they are trying to give the reference of Karnataka, is the previous experience is similar. In 2018, Congress was having the government. They were having CM. You remember during Karnataka election, Rahul Gandhi first time has given a statement that if opposition agrees, then I can be ready to accept the responsibility of the PM. So they were having CM and they were aspiring for PM, and finally they have
to reconcile. They were in government, anti-incumbency was against them. Now anti-incumbency is against you.
Let me complete. But they have finally reconciled a deputy CM. So chale the 24-26 banne, reh gaye dube banke.
We've got a Karnataka in our studio, Raj Chengappa. You know, Karnataka is not India and India will never be Karnataka, just like any other state. Should we, while we are talking of mood of the nation, perhaps also say that while we talk about nation, and we are a subcontinental side nation, each state also has a very different mood. And it's time to sort of separate the two in a way.
And let me also say this, that when I was covering Karnataka and Ramakrishna Hegde was there, Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister and he swept Karnataka Lok Sabha polls. But Ramakrishna Hegde won the state elections. Now, bring it right up to scratch. I mean, we're talking 30 years later, right?
Yes.
Or 40 years later. And if you look at that, Mr. Modi has a dominant position across the country. Undoubtedly, in Lok Sabha, he might get the kind of numbers that he got even last time. But when it comes to the state, Sudhanshu, I'm afraid, the BJP is on the back foot. Yeah.
So therefore, that distinction you're drawing between the mood of the nation and the mood of the state.
And this one will be different one. Second point I'd like to make is that we've been talking about Rahul Gandhi. Let us not forget what he did in that yatra was to take the battle to an ideological level. You see, what has happened is that the BJP and the RSS has occupied the ideological space of this country with its narrative of how India should be, Hindutva and everything. For the first time, you have a challenger who comes and says, there is an alternative narrative that I'd like to do it. And if you take our Mood of the Nation poll, particularly this segment, and the earlier one that we talked about, Rahul Gandhi highlights a trinity of issues, which is, authoritarianism, social sort of polarization, and
economic cronyism.
Inequality.
He calls it economic cronyism.
Economic inequality, right? That's what he would say. Cronism is the addition. Take a look at how this plays out in our polls. You will see that price rise, inflation, economic issues are bang on that one. Take a look at social polarization. Uncomfortable about democracy, you could have that jihadi issue, but if I think the BJP pushes it beyond a point, there will be issues. Authoritarianism. Take a look at the way they believe that judges should appoint themselves rather than this thing. And if you look at the way whether democracy is threatened or not, the perception is, yes, there's almost 42% equal to this saying not threatened.
Okay.
So I think you're seeing that if they push at this, right, the BJP is at a very comfortable position. They have Mr. Modi, who's a phenomenon. But if you continue that narrative and you're able to bring this alternative narrative as well as present the Congress what it should do, is present all these three issues with an economic, political and social alternative.
It's your magazine, your poll, I can go. The poll doesn't show this. The poll doesn't show this. Even when we are asked a question, is Kharge the right person to lead Congress? Yes, say 30%. Tharoor would have been better, 24%. Gandhi should have continued, is only 12%. Younger leader, better is 18%. So while I come back to it, Rahul, my sense is the Congress's core has been galvanized, energized by Rahul Gandhi.
That's 20% maximum.
That's right. And therefore, the challenge for the Congress is how do you grow beyond? You've picked up the right hot button issues, Raj is right there. But that's not translating into a sense of confidence that the leadership is the right
you have
to challenge
get the plus voter. Without
that's
the plus voter, you don't win. But what might happen if elections were held today? That's the most important question in the Mood of the Nation opinion poll. We'll get you the C-voter projections for India today on that question of who would be the next Prime Minister, what might happen if polls were held today. Details coming up on the other side of a quick break.
Hello and welcome to this Republic Day special Mood of the Nation. Remember, India Today's biannual poll brought to you with C-Voter, providing you all the data. Rahul and I are giving you the findings of the Mood of the Nation in the run-up to 2024. This is a crucial poll, and that's why the number that Rahul is about to give you, who would win if Lok Sabha elections are held today, becomes very important.
In every Mood of the Nation poll, this is the one question that generates the maximum amount of excitement, chatter, controversy. So here it is on your screen now. I'll start with vote share. If elections were held today, what would the vote wheel look like? So according to the projection done by C-Voter for the India Today group, the NDA's vote share could potentially go up from 41%, which was the projection in the last Mood of Nation, to 43%. Remember, the Lok Sabha 2019 number was at 45. So it's 2% less than the Lok Sabha number, but about 2% more than the last Mood of the Nation opinion poll. The UPA's vote share could go up from 28 to 30. In 2019, the UPA had 27% of the vote share, so it's 3% more than that. The others' vote share could come down from 31 to 27, so 4% decline in the vote share of the other parties. Let's now come to that big question. Who would win if a Lok Sabha election were held today? The poll shows that while the numbers for the NDA are down from 2022 in August, which is the last Mood of the Nation poll, the NDA would still be comfortably placed. 298 seats for the NDA, 153 for the UPA, up from 125 in the last Mood of the Nation. Remember, the UPA had 96 seats in the Lok Sabha elections of 2019. The NDA had 352. So that's about 54 seats down from the last Lok Sabha elections as far as the NDA is concerned, but still comfortably placed.
Look, at the end of the day, as you're right, Jo Jeeta Wo Sikandar, you're well above the halfway mark even now. I think the worry is that you're no longer actually the NDA. This is now BJP. You've lost the Akalis, you've lost the Shiv Sena, you've lost the JDU. And that's really where now you're on your own. You see, earlier you had strategic alliances in key states like Maharashtra, like Punjab, like Bihar. This poll is being done at a time when the BJP virtually is left without any major allies. They're fighting this election on their own. So essentially the number to look at is, will the BJP on its own be over 272? At the moment it is. But that is the number that they should be worried about, because this time they will have no benefit from allies giving them a bump up. So that, according to me, is the only concern. You've come down below 300. If you start coming down any further in the next 12 months, then there are warning signals.
Sudhanshu Trivedi, does the absence of formidable allies take away the margin that you had? That if the BJP took a slight hit, you had the allies would ensure you'd win comfortably. Now it's only the BJP on its own needing to go well beyond 272 to be comfortably placed.
With due respect to all our previous allies, I would like to say it was BJP which was pushing them upstairs. Example I would like to give. After detaching from us, JDU is at the 3rd or 4th position in Bihar. After departing from us, where is Akali Dal? In Maharashtra, we fought on our own and won more seats than Shiv Sena was ready to give us. So, in a manner, they were getting the benefit of the personality of Shri Narendra Modi and the support of BJP. So, as far as allies are concerned, one interesting fact. This UPA figure is being shown if you take into account Bihar and Maharashtra. It is very easy at this time when the elections are not really on the ground. Do you think that how many seats, when the seat sharing will come, NCP and Congress will be able to give to Uddhav Thackeray? How many seats when JDU and RJD, who fought on their own, will be having a difficulty in settling the seats On the contrary, BJP, which has fought on its own once in Bihar in 2014 and once in Maharashtra. So we are having experience and we are prepared.
But you couldn't win
but
on
they
your
are
own.
not
But you
prepared.
couldn't win on your own.
You know, Rahul, look at the numbers. BJP won 303 seats on their own in Lok Sabha 2019. Out of these 298, BJP, as per our poll,
284.
is coming down to 284. So the BJP itself is above 272 at the moment, but 12 seats above. Sudhanshu is right that there could be some advantages also at times of not having allies who are demanding seats, particularly the JDU, which was clearly a party on the decline in 2019, and the BJP had to accommodate them. But once you're at 284, if something goes wrong, you see, at the
Even
moment...
Akali Dal was on the decline.
No, sure,
and
but...
we continued with them.
No, but you pulled it off in Uttar Pradesh. The BJP then needs to do a UP in Bihar, needs to do a UP in Madhya Pradesh. In UP, you are organizationally stronger, but that is not the case in Bihar and Maharashtra, where whenever you fought alone, you've actually struggled to win. That's what the data says. Now you need to do what you did in UP, in Maharashtra and in Bihar.
You have very appropriately taken the example of UP. Correct. When we were contesting last election in 2019 in UP, none of the survey was giving us more than 30 seats. Because they were thinking that SP-BSP combined is having a formidable alliance and their vote transfer will happen. Fact of the matter is, sir, the ground level social chemistry is different in UP and Bihar, which was 40-50 years back. The so-called vote bank of SP and BSP were having tussle on the ground. So is the case in Bihar. The caste base of JDU and the caste base of RJD is having tussle on the ground.
Go to your argument.
So transferability of the votes. So the political chemistry is not that much easy.
Go to your
I'm giving one example. Last 2014, we won 22 Lok Sabha seats in Bihar. But we haven't contested even 22. We sacrificed it to JDU. Now again we are contesting on
But go to your argument, Rahul Verma, is the belief that BJP can do a UP in Maharashtra and Bihar as well. Bihar hasn't proven to be as easy to polarize for the BJP as Uttar Pradesh has. Can the BJP do in Bihar and Maharashtra what they did in UP?
It's possible. It's in the realm of possibility. See, I think what you have to think, one is that the RJD-JDU alliance would be very, very formidable alliance in 2025 Bihar Assembly election. But when the national elections, Lok Sabha elections would happen in 2024, because it would be a different BJP, when Prime Minister Modi is on the ticket, it will be an equal challenger or perhaps a better challenger. So because of the national state election distinction, I think they can still sort of like absorb the losses.
You know, somewhere in the, taking off from what Rahul Verma said, the moment it's a state election in Maharashtra, then you have a formidable Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi alliance if it stays by then versus the BJP. If there are state elections in Bihar, you have a formidable alliance of JDU, RJD and Congress versus the BJP. Sudhanshu Trivedi seems to be banking on the chemistry of Narendra Modi and forgetting about the alliance, the arithmetic of alliances. Do you believe that that is the reason why even now the BJP is above the halfway mark of 272? Because otherwise, there could be some troubling signals going ahead for the BJP despite the Prime Minister's high popularity at a national level.
I think what you said earlier, Rajdeep, is right, that at 284, if I was the BJP, I wouldn't be comfortable. Because earlier,
wouldn't be comfortable?
I wouldn't be comfortable at all. This is not something that you would like to be in a position where if you lose 20 seats this side or that side, you're going to be dropping below the majority thing. You would have been far more comfortable at 300. You've got a buffer and plus having allies so that you are ensuring that the NDA or the BJP government comes to power. I think the real problem, and this is being reflected in it, what is the concern that is there? That while the popularity of both his government and Mr. Modi are very high, when it comes to numbers, he's still stagnant as compared to what we did in August 2022. Now, here's the problem, that while he gets the bump because of whatever measures he's taken, welfare and everything else, he has to do two things in this year. One is he has to address the key issues the country faces. 54% say it's economic. Whether it's price rise, whether it's unemployment, that he has to address that solely. Second is all his welfare schemes that he has to ensure that it delivers, because that benefit, I think, let's take out the one that is this Nal Se Jal thing, the Har Ghar Jal scheme. If he does well in that scheme, right, the female voter will come back in quite substantially. That will make the difference there. So the welfare schemes, the combination of that, the combination of ensuring that he is able to get jobs and prizes, I think will be the key determinant. You can take alliances and everything else as part of the problem.
But these numbers, Raj, are coming at a time when the government is in governance mode.
Right.
The focus is on all these schemes and saturating delivery of public welfare. As the election comes, like was the case in 2019, Sudhanshuji and his party will find emotive issues, potentially divisive issues, issues where they're able to galvanize their voter, in which case, all of what you're saying on price rise and unemployment is important. But Sudhanshuji, you'll pull something out which kind of charges voters up and then says, okay, let's leave some of these problems on the side. Balakot, Pakistan, something which kind of galvanizes people around the flag, galvanizes around the charisma.
Mandir, January 1st, 2024.
No, but Sudhanshuji is an interesting person to ask that question too. But one political calculation is when something is unsolved, it is polarizing and galvanizing. When the temple is there, is it as vote catching as it is when the temple is to be built and not there yet?
Actually, on the issue of delivery and on the issue of so-called polarization, I would like to answer, delivery is the prime characteristic and of the credibility of Sri Narendra Modi. We have delivered it. Whether it was Ujjwala Yojana, whether it was Ayushman Bharat Yojana, whether it was Ann Yojana, whether it was Kisan Samman Nidhi, that's how it, whether it was law and order in a state like Uttar Pradesh. So that is the tangible delivery which the voter has experienced. That's why some of our critics have started saying that they have created a new vote bank, that is Labharthi vote bank. It is nothing, it was not vote bank. It was our commitment to the poor of the poorest section of the society. Now coming on the so-called divisive issues, I would like to say, hum karte hain kabhi. First thing, if attack on Balakot, how it can be polarizing in the favor of BJP? It's an
call it galvanizing. You should
and now,
call it
on the
divisive.
galvanizing, I would like to quote. Rahul Gandhi started Yatra. In Kerala, he embraces a person who has a beef party on the road. In Tamil Nadu, he enters and he embraces a father, George Punia, who has openly said कि भारत की धरती तो अपवित्र है इसलिए जूता पहनता हूं कि टच ना हो जाए. In Karnataka, he enters and his former कार्यकारी अध्यक्ष says Hindu शब्द बहुत गंदा है. Then he enters in Maharashtra and he starts saying utterly against Veer Savarkar. Then a person who is permanently campaigning is a 36-year-old student who is having the fame connected with the phrase tukde tukde. So, and just now you have seen surgical strike, we need a proof. So we need not to do anything. It is they who try to polarize because they know that on the issue of delivery they cannot match with BJP. So the polarization starts from there.
Sudhanshu, let's take that to Rohan Gupta, because Rohan Gupta, we've looked at these NDA numbers very carefully, and again you will clutch on straws and say, look, BJP is gone below 300, they're at 298. But when I look at UPA numbers, yes, the good news is, compared to the mood of the nation, August 2022, you've gone up from 125 to 153. But that is principally on account of the fact that your allies have grown. The Congress has only grown, as per our poll, from 60 seats we are giving them in August to 68. That's an 8-seat jump. You're getting the benefit of now having new allies like JDU, Shiv Sena in Maharashtra. So the Congress's vote percentage has remained more or less the same. Your seats have marginally grown at the expense of others. How do you therefore respond? The buzz of the Bharat Jodo Yatra, which is there even in the poll, is not translating at the moment into major seats for the Congress. And Sudhanshu, in fact, says that actually even the chemistry will not work.
See, Rajdeep, first of all, Sudhanshu ji ने जो कहा, मैं बता दूं कि भाजपा अभी सबके लिए भस्मासुर हो चुकी है. जो भी भाजपा को टच करता है भस्म हो जाता है. Second portion is we are forgetting a critical election of Himachal, where जब से हम जीते हैं तब सबसे हिमाचल देश के बाहर चला गया है भाजपा के लिए. हिमाचल की कोई बात ही नहीं कर रहा है. देखिए, हिमाचल में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज हुई कि मोदी जी वाज देयर, बीजेपी's whole machinery was there, their national president was there, the union minister was there. But one thing we could successfully do in Himachal is to divert the issues to the core issues. One gentleman who I think he has done this survey, he clearly told that we are able to now divert the people's mind from the emotional issues to the core issues. बीजेपी के issues क्या है? धर्म की बात करेंगे, राष्ट्रवाद, ये इश्यू जब डिलीवरी की बात आती है अब भाग जाते हैं। हमने हिमाचल में बीजेपी की पूरी मशीनरी होने के बावजूद ये प्रूव करके दिखाया कि व्हेन देयर इज अ डायरेक्ट फाइट बिटवीन कांग्रेस एंड बीजेपी, कांग्रेस कैन विन। I am not giving full credit to Bharat Jodo Yatra, but yes, one thing has happened that we could maintain the election on local issues. Number one, we could ensure that the election is fought on employment, महंगाई, बेरोजगारी और धार्मिक जो ध्रुवीकरण उसके ऊपर, और हमको उसका फल मिला।
Let Yashwant Deshmukh, these are two very different understandings of these numbers. Do you believe that as elections get localized, the picture dramatically changes, as Rohan Gupta is suggesting? Because what I see in the numbers at the end of the day is when it comes to a national poll, the BJP still remains well ahead of its rivals. Can you localize a national poll? Rohan Gupta is saying, look at Himachal Pradesh. We could do Himachal Pradesh across India tomorrow.
Well, Radhip, at the state level, yes, there is a possibility, but at national level, there is a split vote. I mean, for example, Rohanji just mentioned Himachal. Hardly, a month or two into Himachal victory, and even at the time of Himachal, when the numbers were showing that Congress is back in the surge and is likely to win the election in Himachal, almost 20% vote gap was there as far as the Lok Sabha voting intention was concerned. So in Himachal, as on today, for the Lok Sabha voting behavior, Radhip, I'm looking at the number on my screen is 56 to 34 in favor of the BJP. Now, this is clearly a terms of split vote. However, in terms of Karnataka, the numbers are not that good for the BJP. It's actually very pathetic, because if Lok Sabha voting behavior in Karnataka is higher for the Congress, then obviously the Vidhan Sabha numbers would be even higher for the Congress, could be even higher for the Congress. However, one thing Mr. Sudhanshuji said, and that is a very interesting observation, is the incumbencies that are being developed at the local level. For example, the Bihar, I mean, the three states where we have clearly pointed out the NDA and the BJP on a sticky wicket right now is the Bihar,
okay, so let's put those numbers out before you come there.
Yeah, let Rahul explain those numbers. Just a minute, Yashwant. Rahul will go state by state. Rahul, why don't you give us a state by state picture, because I think that's interesting.
Now, this is interesting because the Sea Voter team has actually polled in every state, and therefore we can project states where the BJP and the NDA are gaining ground and states where the NDA and the BJP are losing ground and the UPA and the others are gaining. So let's start with states where the UPA is gaining and the NDA is losing. The big number there comes from Karnataka, where in 2019, the Congress won just 2 seats. According to the Mood of the Nation opinion poll in January 23, the UPA could be at 17 seats. So that's a 15-seat gain in the state of Karnataka. That's a big gain from 2 to 17. Let's look at Maharashtra, where the UPA had 6 seats in the Lok Sabha elections, which is NCP and Congress together. Now with the Shiv Sena also getting added, or at least the Uddhav Sena getting added, that number, according to this poll, and Sudhanshuji and the BJP won't like it, could potentially, according to Yashwant Deshmukh, go up to 34. In Bihar, where earlier the RJD and the Congress together had just that 1 seat, that number could go up to 25. Now those are big numbers and a nightmare scenario, Rajdeep, from the BJP's perspective, if it were to happen.
I look at these Maharashtra numbers, a state that I've followed over the years very closely. I'm a little staggered at the...
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Can Mr. Rohan Gupta tell that the number of seats with which Uddhav Thackere's faction is right now having, or the last time Shiv Sena contested, are they ready to give even that number of seats to Maharashtra?
No, that's about seat sharing.
That's why I'm saying.
The question...
Aaj ki raat bachenge to shahar dekhenge. It's not that much easy.
You're right.
They will say we have contested this, we have won this. And now people will say, we are not ready to give even a half number of that seat.
You're looking at seat sharing. We are going ahead of ourselves. I'm just looking at these numbers again. These numbers, Rahul, do suggest that the BJP does have a challenge in certain big states of the country. Maharashtra has the second highest number of Lok Sabha seats after Uttar Pradesh. To go down for the opposition to win 34 out of 48 puts a lot of pressure on the BJP then to gain in other states. Remember, the BJP maxed out in several states of North India. They swept Rajasthan, they virtually swept Madhya Pradesh, swept Chhattisgarh, swept Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Haryana. You've then got, you see, if you lose as many as 30 seats, as per this poll, you're losing 28 alone in Maharashtra. Where are you going to make those up? Then you've got a challenge of Bihar. Again, you're losing more than 20 seats there. Sudhanshu is hoping that a Lok Sabha poll is very different to a Vidhan Sabha poll. In a Vidhan Sabha poll, Rahul, arithmetic, I think, matters, because then at the local level, if all the three allies are together, Shiv Sena, Congress and NCP, they are a formidable alliance. The moment you go national, you are relying on Mr. Modi. Like it happened in Uttar Pradesh in 2019, there the BJP did manage to do it. Can you, as you earlier said on the program, do a UP even in a Maharashtra? Not so easy. Not so easy.
The key there is the Congress's belief that you can localize, Rahul Verma, a national election, bring it down to roti, kapda, makan, issues of livelihood. Whereas the BJP will say, look at the flag, the national picture, our public welfare schemes, Modi and his personality, political stability. Can the Congress, in the modern construct, localize a national election, or that's just trying the wrong strategy?
That is what the opposition would hope for. See, opposition's best hope in 2024 is to make national elections basically aggregation of state results.
But Rahul Verma, sorry, I heard this in 2019 as well. And then Balakot happened and everything changed.
You know, that's the hope. Can you set that agenda in that form or not? That will depend a lot on what events will take place. And events are largely, always, or mostly in control of the incumbent. That's why in electoral democracy...
Okay, so let's have some fun. Let's spend some time, and I'll start with Rajdeep. Rajdeep, what could this potential...
some big crisis happen.
No, so let's spend on that. What you're saying, incumbents are usually the ones who can shape the event. What could such an event be? Something which takes attention away from some of the problems red flagged by the mood of the nation, like unemployment, price rise, and make it about Prime Minister Modi and his personality.
Rahul, according to me, it is Prime Minister Modi. You see, there is the Mandir issue, which will play out in January and will have, in my view, an impact. There is an emotional fervor. Look, the BJP got a bounce. You see, whenever the BJP, it will certainly enthuse the core of the BJP. The core will be clearly galvanized. We are talking about plus voters. I believe that the plus voters have come to the BJP because of the personality of Prime Minister Modi. Between now and next year, you have the G20 summit. Mr. Modi will be projected as a Vishwa Guru. All these BJP MPs have been told, wherever you go, don't project. Forget Vikas Purush, as Manisha ji was saying. It's now Vishwa Guru. When you project him as a Vishwa Guru, you will make him larger than life.
He already is larger than life.
You will make him even larger than life. And once you do that, then even in states like Maharashtra, you will say that this election is not about who you want as your MP.
Yeah.
This election is about who do you want as Prime Minister of India. You will now, the BJP, you haven't seen anything yet in my view. They will make 2024 the biggest presidential election in the history of this country. And therefore, we'll hope that all the other issues, economy, everything is overridden by the sheer personality of Narendra Modi, which is why the opposition's opportunity lies in, can I tell them that, look, forget about all that. Think about your local issues. It didn't work in 2019 once Balakot happened. In 2024, even without Balakot, just the personality of Mr. Modi is what the BJP is banking on. He is there. They put all their eggs in his basket. That's the risk they run. They are doing what Indira Gandhi, Devkant Barua said, Indira is India, India is Indira. They've done Modi is India, India is Modi. And Sudhanshu may not agree to it, but he is their number 1 to 10. All their eggs are in his basket, and there will be more and more in his basket.
He has used a very appropriate phrase. India is Indra and Indra is India was said by Devkant Barua,
That's
then
right.
President of Congress, and up till now no president has apologized for that. So this is the official statement of the Congress, and it echoes with what Rudolph Hess said in 1934.
Is
Hitler
that not
is
true of the
Germany and
BJP
Germany
today?
is Hitler. But today,
Modi
in
is
every
India, India is Modi.
Let me complete, sir. In our every party meeting, even Modi ji himself says, Bharat Mata ki Jai and Vande Mataram. That's how difference. And they say India is Indra and Indra is India. We say Vande Mataram and Bharat Mata ki Jai. Even we are accused now off that we are using these things as a political tool. Bharat Mata ki Jai and Vande Mataram, here lies
You don't agree with my statement, Modi is India, India is Modi? That is actually the messaging.
Sir,
what you say in your internal party meeting doesn't mean what is the messaging going out to the people of the country.
We believe in ideology. Bharat Mata, how can you say Modi ji can even think of equating with the country when he himself said Bharat Mata ki Jai? They are having a foreign mindset of the country. We are having the eternal mindset of the country from the ages unknown, which is the real mindset of the country. And one thing, on the tangible issue of development, the inflation and the price rise. Even the credibility of BJP is so high that in the last 60 years, other than 2006 and 8, every time the rate of inflation was much, much higher than rate of growth in Congress rule. And in entire BJP rule of the 14 years, except 2020, when the COVID was there, the rate of growth was much higher than rate of inflation. And even Modi ji has very dexterously done with that. So I think on the issue of unemployment and price rise, we are having a much, much better credibility. And on the issue of ideology, I would like to say, since last 71 years, you name a single ideological and principle stand on which BJP has changed its policy, and you name a single ideological stand in which Congress has not changed its policy. So that's how the credibility. And on the issue of Sri Narendra Modi, he is having such a personality and such a level of attraction towards the people. Why? Not because he has been projected by something, because of his credibility, dedication and devotion to the nation.
So Moditwa.
8 साल में एक दिन की छुट्टी नहीं ली जनाब.
No. So it is Moditwa. You see, at one level, it eventually boils down to Mr. Modi. He may now say Bharat Mata, but at the end of the day, for that average, say a farmer in Jalna or a farmer in Sitamarhi, he is saying Mr. Modi. On a vaccine certificate, he is not saying Bharat Mata, he is saying Mr. Modi. You know, let's be very clear. It is about Mr. Modi. I don't know.
But what's wrong with it? Ultimately,
I'm not saying, I'm only giving you the objective reality.
It is about
I'm giving you the objective reality
that
now.
voter in Jalna or Dumka or Dibrugarh or wherever looks at the Prime Minister's performance.
I remember after 2002 Gujarat victory, Rajdeep ji has first used this phrase, it is victory of the Moditwa.
I've said it.
I remember.
Please give me the patent on it.
That is. So, and from there, by God's grace, Modi ji has reached to the Prime Ministership of India, that too with a clear majority, which was unthinkable at the time. So if he has used right now the word Moditwa, so in my opinion, Modi ji is going to get a 2/3 majority in the next time, because the previous track record shows that.
Okay.
Since we are on Rajdeep,
Yes,
I'd like to take a cricket, answering what Rahul was asking at that point.
Yes.
There's a cricketing analogy that sort of sums up what Mr. Modi is doing at the moment. I think he's in the zone. If you ask Sachin Tendulkar what the zone is, right? It is that you focus only on the ball, everything else disappears when you're playing at your best. Rahul Dravid also said that he doesn't even see the side screen, he doesn't see the bowlers coming, the umpire, he's just focusing on the ball. Mr. Modi is currently in that zone where he's focusing on, the key issues of the country and delivering on many of them.
But Tendulkar's also had periods where he didn't score a century for a while. So when you put all your hopes on that
but
one...
Modi hasn't had that period.
He hasn't had.
He hasn't had that period.
Look, all I'm saying is that the BJP today is doing exactly what the Congress did under Indira Gandhi. That's all I'm saying.
Sorry. Let me just finish my point, right? Granted, Mr. Modi is the biggest trump card and everything else. But I think there are a couple of things that we need to look out for. One is that this welfare scheme might be great, but I don't think the young, particularly, let's not forget, we will become the most populous country and the youngest country in the world. This generation has aspirations, wants self-esteem. It doesn't want doles. It doesn't want to depend on welfare. It wants to come out like you and my children would want to get jobs and get money. If Mr. Modi, he has 10 years, he had the promise of saying, I'll better your incomes, achhe din, whatever it is. He will be judged on that. I think the Indian, people are not stupid. They will ask, what have you done? Has my income increased? Our poll shows that if you look at what the other numbers are showing on the economy, that they feel their income has deteriorated, that the number of people who say that they are spending beyond their budgets has gone up. These are serious concerns. You cannot wipe it with charisma. You have to deal with this. And I think that's where, while he's in the zone, he could very easily lose sight. He's kept his eyes on the ball. But if he does not do what these are, the country will say, fine, you did a great job, we gave you 10 years, but You need to tell us what you're going to do
No, but
in the
can I
next 5
counter
years.
what Raj is saying? Just to say what you're saying is logically correct, but factually incorrect, because in recent times, despite those issues of unemployment, price rise, people have still reposed their faith in Prime Minister Modi. It happened in 2019 as well. That yes, there are these problems, but we still believe in Prime Minister Modi.
He's trustworthy. There's no doubt
let's
about
go
that.
back to the poll. You see, at the end of the day, whenever let's go back to the poll. There is a number we put. Performance of Prime Minister Modi, Rahul. In January 2020, 68%, that was 6 months after the poll, said 68% supported him. Now, 4 years later, it's up to 72%. That's among the highest. The highest was August 2020. Now it's 72% are saying performance is good. Poor is only 16%. You know, this shows, as we started off Mood of the Nation, that there is pro-incumbency. You see, that is something we've got to learn to, grapple with.
See what happened with pro-incumbency in Gujarat. When there is pro-incumbency, you could end up throwing up a result which is much bigger than what appears normally possible.
You know, Rahul, I hate to say this, but I remember first week of May, and I had it on video, so it's there on video. I had said the BJP will cross 300. Because then also there was, eventually the Balakot bump effect also was there. But even so, I do believe, even before Balakot, once the election is presidential, and the BJP will make every effort, as I said, to do so, you're going to make it a leadership contest. You're front-loading leadership. Look at these numbers.
But look at
72% as per your own poll are saying that he is good. The only time it went below was 54% in August 2021 at the peak of COVID.
No, but Rahul,
these are very strong numbers.
When 72% think the Prime Minister is doing a good job, the BJP doesn't have to try to make the poll presidential. It automatically is. 7 out of 10 think the Prime Minister is doing a good job, and that's going to be a big factor in determining how they vote.
So in some ways, those two things are basically flip sides of each other, right? BJP tries to make it or not make it. In some ways, it's the feature of the system. Post 2014, not just at the national level, but even in states, now faces have become important, right? Parties and leaders have basically become synonymous. You can't think of a RJD without a Lalu Yadav. You can't think of a DMK without a Stalin. So in some ways, a lot of things are changing in last 10, 20 years of electioneering and campaigning, where faces have become very, very important. And that's why perhaps Yashwant was making this point earlier. What we are seeing, a rise of a new era. And you can basically compare this period with the 50s and 60s, when you had very, very powerful chief minister, even when there was a towering Nehru personality. There were powerful chief ministers, they were returning back to power, and same thing is happening in last 10 to 15 years.
Let's ask that to Yashwant. Yashwant, do you see anything in your poll which should give the BJP a cause for worry, given your numbers?
Well, I have said that at the local level, I mean, the equation, the way the allies went off in Maharashtra and in Bihar, and obvious anti-incumbency factor that they are grappling with in Karnataka. But, oddly enough, while the opposition is trying to make the entire politics local, I have a slightly different take on eventual outcome of that. Rajdeep, that localization of politics might actually, by the time Lok Sabha happen in some of the states, end up helping the BJP. For example, look at the anger that is building up against the Bihar government. Bihar government is not running smooth. Every day we look at the things that, okay, this is a problematic area where they are having it. Look at the numbers that Karnataka will throw up. BJP is likely to lose Karnataka. Well said, done. Congress is likely to win Karnataka. That is also said and done. But Rajdeep, one funny thing which always keeps me on my tenterhooks, that looking at the way the Congress managed. For example, Karnataka, my other numbers show Siddaramaiah is the most popular leader right now in Karnataka, while the Congress is likely to make Chief Minister of DK Shiv Kumar, whose numbers are not so great. So there would be a conflict over there, and by the time 1 year goes by that Karnataka elections are happened, I'm not sure whether the Lok Sabha voting intention will remain the same.
No, but this is Yashwant bowling a googly to the Congress, because Congress hasn't said Shiv Kumar is being CM. So they will say, like they did in Himachal, that the MLAs will decide, And if the Congress is to be in a position, a majority of the MLAs, from what I am told by everyone in Karnataka,
Rahul,
they actually back
in
Siddaramaiah.
Himachal they
In
got
the way
30.
that Rahul Gandhi and Kharge are running the Congress right now,
Rahul,
they
in
could
Himachal,
potentially
they
go
got
with whoever
lucky
the
that,
MLA is back.
the big name wasn't there. But in case of Karnataka, there are two stalwarts at loggerheads. And one is arguably a very popular among the masses, other one is a mastermind for electioneering, but not popular, not that popular at all. So there would be friction.
Or it could end up like a Sachin Pilot and Gehlot kind of situation.
Kind of result in 1 year.
But you know, I think we've already, you know, we'll take a break at this point, because I think we've looked at this very, very closely, looking at whether there are any alternatives in a way, almost, because otherwise it appears a certain sense of a predictable outcome almost into 2024. Is it really a done deal? What are the X factors that could change? Also, what are those factors? How do people see factors like misuse, alleged misuse of enforcement agencies, those critical data points? Mood of the nation, back in a moment. Welcome back to the Mood of the Nation, where clearly the big factor dominating this poll is Narendra Modi. There is Modi only, it appears, Timo factor when you look at the politics of this country. But Rahul, what would happen if this was a presidential contest and more? Let's take a look at the numbers.
Okay, so on the question of who is best suited to be India's next Prime Minister, it seems there isn't much of divided opinion amongst the respondents in the India Today Mood of the Nation opinion poll. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has more than half the respondents in our poll rooting for him to be the next Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi's approval has gone up from 9 to 14, but that's just a 5% increase. The big number there is that 52% of the respondents say they would like Narendra Modi to be Prime Minister once again. We also asked the other question, which is about who is best suited to succeed Prime Minister Modi. Now, this is a question which nobody in the BJP wants to really talk about at this moment, because the Prime Minister is still very much front and center. But when this question was posed, Home Minister Amit Shah comes out on top with 26% of the respondents wanting Amit Shah to be the next Prime Minister. Yogi Adityanath comes in at number 2 with 25% of the respondents voting Yogi Adityanath to be the next Prime Minister. Nitin Gadkari comes in at number 3 at 16%. But at this moment, leading with a slender margin, Home Minister Amit Shah as the numero uno choice to succeed Prime Minister Modi.
Interesting, Rahul, because we won't look at after Modi who. Remember, 50s and 60s, they used to ask this question, after Nehru who. But let's look at some of the other data points very quickly. In fact, when we ask best PM of India over time, and usually the incumbent does have an advantage in such polls, Narendra Modi ji at 47%, Atal Bihari Vajpayee 16%, Indira Gandhi at 12%. For a long time it was Vajpayee and Indira, now Mr. Modi is there. Has the Modi government reduced corruption? Have they really made Bharat into a Bhrashtachar Mukt Bharat? 53% say yes, no say 41%. So there is a bit of a divided opinion. There are certain issues, unemployment, corruption, where opinion tends to be a little bit more divided. Does the BJP misuse enforcement agencies? 44% are saying yes they do, no 41%. So that's another issue on which you will find a sharp divide, misuse of enforcement agencies. Freebies, should the government be giving more freebies? Yes say 49%, no say 42%. So a lot of the issues of our times have divided opinion, even if personalities seem to be of no contest. Opinion on current state of democracy. Remember, there's been a lot of talk this week over the manner in which a BBC documentary on Gujarat 2002 has been blocked. It's in danger, say 43%, not in danger, say 43%. So clearly a very divided opinion on certain contentious issues. Communal harmony under NDA rule, has it improved, say 43%, deteriorated, say 35%. Who is responsible for deteriorating communal harmony? 26% say BJP, RSS, opposition 3%, fringe group 3%. So I think there is a wide consensus that most believe in our poll that Mr. Modi is best placed to lead the country. But on specific issues, public opinion is divided. And that many believe, and Raj Chengappa has been putting that up, flagging that through the show, is something the BJP should be worried about. That on specific issues, they don't get the kind of enthusiastic response that they get when you ask who should be the Prime Minister of the country.
I think there are 2 points that come from this thing. One is that there is, just like there's a shelf life for welfare schemes, there's also a shelf life for polarization. We were discussing this earlier. As you keep pushing that envelope a bit, the average Indian begins to feel uncomfortable. Yes, we may not have agreed with Muslim appeasement, but we are not looking at confrontation of communities. So when it comes to polarization, you could choose, say, the UCC, Uniform Civil Code, and ram it through and say it has to happen. So that could be a polarizing issue, which we were talking earlier. And if you come to look at
democracy, for example,
and even Jammu and Kashmir,
yes.
you put it to vote, you could get if there's attacks and everything else, you could get a national issue that builds up. So there's enough for it. But I would advise, my suggestion, not even an advice, who am I to do this, is that the BJP must look ahead. Mr. Modi has got the capacity to do it. Unlike Jacinda Ardern of the New Zealand Prime Minister, he has not run out of, his tank is not empty. His tank is full. He can do a third term if he wants to. It is in him, as we decided, the phenomenon that Mr. Modi is, it is for him to say, okay, let's not look at 2045-7. Those are all great ideals. You need to now say, from 2024 to 2029, what will you deliver? And I believe that delivery has to be very, very clearly in this 2023, show the direction for the youth as to what you can give them. That aspiration, if you
very
don't,
interesting.
you'll have
Almost
issues.
talking about 2024 then being a done deal in a way, but is that something, a message we are told was given to the BJP also behind closed doors by the Prime Minister at your recent national executive? Reach out to Muslim groups, make it clear, don't make unnecessary comments about films, boycott this film, boycott a Pathan, that the party has been told be more responsible. Mr. Modi also wants to be seen, particularly in a year when we are heading G20, as a more statesman-like leader. Is that true, Sudhanshu?
I was present in that meeting. What Prime Minister was trying to say, that reach out to all sections of society, irrespective of whether you are getting vote or not. He has not just taken the name of the Muslims. He had said, go to those who are having Vridhavastha pension. You have not just to deliver, even talk to them. Those who are having Vidhva pension, at least somebody should talk to them. Then he said, why not anybody can go to Gurdwara or church, even to the Muslims. And even if you are having an impression that they will not vote, forget about that. We are there for the society, not just to run the government or getting the political dividend out of it.
So what about polarizing issues like love jihad, which, from time to time your leaders raise? Has he told you all stay away from that in the next 1 year? Focus on delivery.
Actually, there is a perceptional difference when you use these phrases like love jihad and other, the so-called polarizing issue. Because, again, I would like to say, who has used this phrase, love jihad? BJP? No. V.S. Achyutanandan, the Communist Party chief
come
minister.
on, BJP leaders, including Yogi Adityanath, have used them repeatedly.
And it was a report submitted by Kerala STF to the High Court of Kerala based on the 5,000 cases they have studied, that these are not the usual love matters. There is a structured policy decided in 95 by Simi to target the middle class and upper middle class girls of Hindu and Christians.
Okay,
Not only
let me ask you this
so
question.
what happened? So देखिए मैं जो कहना चाहता हूँ सर, यहाँ लुटियन जोन में बैठ के कह देना बहुत आसान है. पोलराइजिंग, तो मोदी जी की सरकार है. मैं किसी मोहल्ले का नाम नहीं लेना चाहता. दिल्ली के उन इलाकों में जाके प्रॉपर्टी खरीदना छोड़िए, किराए मकान लेके दिखा दीजिए. लखनऊ के उन मोहल्लों की बात कह रहा हूं, योगी की सरकार लखनऊ में, मोदी जी की सरकार दिल्ली में, किराए पे मकान लेके दिखा दीजिए. सारा ये जो आप कहते हैं ना पोलराइजेशन, सेक्युलरिज्म, सब समझ में आ जाता है. दिस इज द फंडामेंटल डिफरेंस. दैट्स व्हाई देयर इज अ डिस्कनेक्ट with the so-called national mainstream media from 25 years, from 3 decades. They are unable to judge what is happening.
Let me ask you a different question. What are you most worried about as one of the strategists for the Bharatiya Janata Party heading into the next Lok Sabha election? What concerns you the most?
Our concern is how to further increase our vote base, and that we are working on the ground level.
What could go wrong? Like what worries you?
There is only worry is how to further enhance the vote
Achha, ye
and get
camera
the
pe nahi
two-third
batayenge.
majority. Like in Gujarat, what happened?
So we'll talk after outside the
Like
camera.
in Gujarat, what happened? People were talking about, we were saying 150 plus. And on that, we have delivered, we have given good governance, we have the popularity of Modi ji, and also work at the level of the booth and Panna Pramukh also.
Okay,
So from grassroots level to the towering personality of Modi ji, we are working at the several intermittent levels so that we are only worried.
So you're
how
worried-
to
you're
cross
looking at-
45%.
Sudhanshu didn't answer that question. I'll answer the question based on interactions with very senior BJP leaders on what worries them ahead of 2024. The perception amongst BJP karyakartas that there is no fight and that they're winning. That worries the BJP a lot. They
that's
don't
what-
want
that can be-
anyone to believe that this is going to be a bumper harvest once again in 2024. They want workers on the ground to think pretty tight ladai or things aren't good, the Prime Minister is being
that
targeted.
I
That
would like
brings
to-
out
and I'll
hunger
give you,
and aggression.
I'll give you a
I would
story
like-
because Rohan Gupta should respond, but I'll give you a story on this. The same thing happened in 2012 in Gujarat with Amit Shah. Amit Shah found that there were no posters. I've mentioned this in my 2019 book. He found no posters of his rival candidate around. And he told his own people, please go and put up some posters so that they realize that there is a contest and all our people come out and vote. So the BJP complacency is always something you've got to be worried about. But Rohan Gupta, you have any final straw to clutch on to after this poll that you believe can change the picture in the next 16 months?
तब से बोलने का ट्राई कर रहा हूँ. थैंक्स फॉर गिविंग मी टाइम बिकॉज अदरवाइज मुझे लगा मैं प्रेक्षक हो गया हूँ और
नहीं, अगली बार स्टूडियो आ जाइए.
कवि सम्मेलन सुन रहा हूँ सुधांशु जी का, पर अब धन्यवाद. देखिए सुधांशु जी को आपने जब सवाल पूछा तो उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं हम तो और आगे. मुझे लगता है ये अहंकार है और जनता आई अग्री विद मिस्टर चिनप्पा व्हेन ही सेड दैट एवरीथिंग हैज अ शेल्फ लाइफ. The way communal disharmony, if you see the mood of the nation percentage, a lot of people are saying that BJP is spreading disharmony and they are getting political benefit out of it. The challenge in front of us, if we can convert this disharmony, the way Bharat Jodo Yatra has taken the real issues, if we can translate or percolate these issues on ground and convince people that at the end of the day, whether the world around you has changed or not, you should vote on that. I am sure this number will be different when the elections are there. This is our challenge. And let me again come back to Himachal, where they have a जनरली छोटा स्टेट होता है तो बीजेपी की मशीनरी इतनी ज्यादा होती थी कि आपको लगता है आराम से जीत जाएंगे. स्टिल वी कुड विन. आई एम नॉट अगेन बोस्टिंग. इट इज बिकॉज ऑफ भारत जोड़ो यात्रा, बट द एक्सपेरिमेंट्स व्हाट वी डिड टू एंश्योर दैट वी फाइट इश्यूज ऑन लोकल.
Arey sir, Bharat Jodo Yatra didn't even go to Himachal Pradesh. How are you even saying I'm not connecting with the Bharat Jodo, but because of the Bharat Jodo? They didn't even go to Himachal
Can I
Pradesh.
say one thing on
Yes,
shelf life?
yes, very quickly.
What happens shelf life?
That is not Rahul. The point here is राहुल भारत जोड़ो यात्रा नहीं जाना का महत्व नहीं है. महत्व है कि कौन से इश्यूज पे हो रहा है. आज कम्युनल हार्मनी इश्यू में महंगाई है,
On
बेरोजगारी
the
है.
issue of the shelf life,
Yes.
I would like to say that they formed the government in Himachal and within 3 weeks increased the 3 rupees in diesel. Why? Because they have said old pension scheme. At present, 80% of the budget of Himachal goes in salary and pension. Where they have increased, it is going to be 100% plus. So they have to have 3% increase in the. अब तो कैसे कहेंगे कि महंगाई है, पेट्रोल है,
No, but
डीजल
you-
है.
but you
So
will-
that's why the shelf life is
No,
this
sure.
and the crisis of credibility is
Look,
there.
we've discussed, we've got freebies somewhere, and freebies is a very divisive issue. You will recall before 2019 also the Prime Minister brought the Kisan Samman Nidhi, which still continues. So the fact is every political party in their own way looks to woo the voter through what you call labhartis, and they will say, you will say when they give welfare scheme, they are doles. When you do it,
There
it is
a difference.
labhartis.
There is a difference.
There is a...
हमने सबको दिया. Even 70% people of the minority community has got one benefit or the other.
They are also
Despite
giving
हमें
OPS to
वोट
everyone.
1% नहीं मिला. ये ठीक है कि दूसरी तरफ देखिए there is a difference in the mindset. On the Muslim community, you get 70% people, but they are being covered by these type of thinking with the so-called secular party polarization. So they are not voting. On the other hand, here you say 700 rupees free and they are ready to vote. So these type of different in the mindset is also going to impact and is also having the connection with the tangible delivery and the ideological obsession.
So we're out of time on this broadcast, but we're not done. We'll have part 2 of the Mood of the Nation opinion poll, where we look at the state of the economy in the eyes of the Indian voter, the Modi government's handling of foreign affairs, Pakistan, China, the G20 presidency, and a lot more when Rajdeep I, Raj Chingappa and the entire team comes back with part 2 of Mood of the Nation Opinion Poll.
That's right, there's always a sequel. The successful OTT series always have a sequel. We'll be back with a sequel. Okay, sequel. Okay, what Sudhanshu is calling Modi 3, what we are saying is Mood of the Nation. One of the things I want to say before we end is that every time these polls are done, we are told that these polls are fixed. Please understand, Yashwant Deshmukh is there with us. It is, at the end of the day, Mr. Deshmukh's poll. You want to say in 30 seconds? You want to give a response to all those who will say, "Ye to Modi ji ke liye fix kiya hai poll."
मोदी जी के लिए फिक्स किया है तो कर्नाटक में कांग्रेस की जीत की बात मैं क्यों कर रहा हूँ? राजदीप, हर पोल में जब कोई जीतता है वो जीतने वाला उसके लिए ताली बजाता है, जिसके लिए अच्छी खबर नहीं होती उसके लिए वो गुस्सा होते हैं. बेसिकली शूटिंग द मैसेंजर वाली साइक है.
And do remember our poll put out by the India Today group was actually showing the Congress win in Himachal Pradesh at a time when at the highest levels in the BJP, people weren't willing to believe that poll. The poll actually showed the numbers are what they are. Rajdeep, Raj and I haven't sat there and fixed these numbers. The numbers are what they are.
And my final word is, a poll is always a better barometer than WhatsApp groups.
And Gyan.
You see, the end of the day, we can in our WhatsApp groups, based on our echo chambers, either believe that the Bharat Jodo Yatra has transformed the country, or indeed that Mr. Modi ji is server, has 100% support. The truth at the end of the day comes through a poll, and we go by the numbers at the end.
This is the best there is, the most credible poll, the most dependable barometer of which way the political winds are blowing. So just take it for what it is. Here's wishing all of you a very happy Republic Day week. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Namaskar, Jai Hind.